Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Today our group want to present about reflective current issue about termination during COVID-19. First of all, before I start my part, I want to introduce my members, our members group, which is my first one is Nur Syuhada binti Muhammad Perez, and then Siti Nur Ashikin binti Abu, Nur Suraya binti Muhammad Said, Nurul Ashikin binti Ishaq, and Samawati binti Buayanti. So, let's restart the first part, which is introduction. So, on January 2020, the government announced Movement Control Order (MCO) when the first case of COVID-19 was recorded. Due to pandemic, all sectors such as manufacturing, tourists, transportation, small business are affected. When this happened, companies tend to reduce manpower and working hours of employees. Other than that, employer also give unpaid leave to employees and also terminate employees to avoid bankruptcy. The company give the two choices for the employees, which is termination or resign. And then termination is crucial issue around the world during the pandemic. All people are struggling when work from home due to achieve the performance or KPI in the company. There's have a three main issue in the termination, which is redundancies or surplus of labor, planning or restructuring business, and fire poor performing workers. So we move to the next slide, which is the issue. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Ashikin binti Ishaq. My metric number is 2015789865, and I'm going to present about the issue related with termination during pandemic. Issue related with termination during the outbreak firstly is redundancy or surplus of labor, which the action that can be taken by an employer to lay off their worker due to pandemic. The employer is free to set up his company whatever he sees fit as long as it is done in a genuine manner. Redundancies are frequently caused by a firm needing fewer workers of any kind to cut costs, the economy being in a recession, or the merging of two enterprises that need fewer workers. A decrease in profit, a decrease in revenue, or even the stoppage or closure of businesses, as well as in our current scenario, the COVID-19 outbreak are the other causes. Secondly, the issue is to reorganize the business as most of the company affected by COVID-19. The law acknowledges that companies have the authority to manage their workers, provided as fair labor practices are followed. Employers should follow the appropriate selection criteria, fire employees based on objective standards like last in, first out, which is LIFO, and keep those with the talent needed to run a sustainable firm. A company has reasonable ground to cut its personnel if it is actually experiencing financial difficulties as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Prior to laying off workers, employer must first try other measures such as lowering workers' hours, stopping or postponing the hiring of new hires, and limiting of cutting overtime. Lastly, companies have the right to fire a worker for poor performance. Poor performance frequently refers to a worker's inability to deliver the kind of work that the employer accepts or to their lack of productivity. However, an employer is not allowed to fire a worker right away for poor performance. The employee must first receive adequate notice from the company or a warning that emphasizes their bad performance. Additionally, the worker must be provided a fair chance to enhance their work performance. Their dismissal might not be legal if the employer disregards this requirement. The obligation is on the employer to demonstrate that they have followed the requirement when an employee is fired for poor performance and files a complaint for unfair dismissal.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nur Syuhada binti Muhammad Perez. Now I will proceed with the causes and effect of the issues in the termination during pandemic COVID-19. During pandemic, no business is allowed to operate during normal business hours because the pandemic causes a high spread of virus. If all employees are in groups, the company will look for other strategies to continue operating during the pandemic and take high risks to survive for the welfare of employees. For the issue redundancy or surplus of labor, it is a prerequisite for the employer to exercise retrenchment. If retrenchment decision was made illegally without a legitimate reason or in bad faith against a specific employee, the decision will be scrutinized and reviewed by the industrial court. This issue caused by the employer needs to cut off the operation costs, work disclosure, and relocation of business. The company has reduced operating costs by reducing the function of existing positions to ensure the company will continue operating even with a reduced number of employees. Another reason is a business relocation, where a company with a large number of branches had to relocate their business branches to a small number of branches. So, if this problem arises, termination will take effect. Employees will begin to lose trust in the company as a result of some of them losing their jobs, and other employees will become demotivated and will reduce employees' performance and business profitability. Okay, the next issue is restructuring business operation, which caused by the business environment has changed. Termination occurs when there is business planning and restructuring, as the company needs to re-strategize on how to keep maintained in the industry and overcome the problem of being bankrupt. Most businesses will undergo a restructuring in which employers will retain the employees who have demonstrated the best job performance while terminating the remaining employees. The company wants to stabilize its financial status in order to survive the pandemic. When the company acts for restructuring, it will help it remains competitive with other companies that are still struggling to survive during the pandemic. Okay, for the next issue is about terminating the poor performing workers. This happened because of lack of communication between the employee and the employers and lack of supervision. In every business, employer is responsible to monitor each of the employees' performance. If they are reaching a low job performance, the employer should take action towards the employees, whether they need a particular training that suits them or counsel them. If there are no action taken by the employers, it will cause inconsistency by the employees to perform their job very well. The employers also could not fire any of their employees easily without a solid reason. If this happens, it will lead to the less productivity by the employees. And if many employees are laid off due to work performance, the company must bear with the increased recruitment costs.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Nur Ashikin binti Abu. So I will present about any related act involved to our issue that we choose. So firstly, the issue is about termination during pandemic COVID-19. Many factors and issues can cause the termination towards employee, not just in Malaysia but all over the world. Did you know that 155,893 individuals have been laid off since 2020 until July 2021, while 141,191 workers in Peninsular Malaysia were laid off by 5,095 employers, whereas for Sarawak, 509 employers were involved in the termination of 8,996 workers during the same period. The large-scale dismissal percentage driven by the termination of employment has been considered unfair by the Malaysian Industrial Court. The case of termination will be examined if the case is brought to the industrial court. Okay, if the dismissal is made in the opposite intention, the employees has the right under Section 20 of the Industrial Relation Act 1967, or known as IRA, to the Department of Industrial Relation within 60 days from the date of termination for challenging the company decisions. There are a few channels for employees to claim their rights, that is, Labour Department, Industrial Relation Department and High Court. The Industrial Court follow the principle of LIFO under Section 60N Employment Act 1955, where the LIFO means last in, first out. After that, the employer should give notice to the employees and must inform 1 month to the Labour Department before any retrenchment, and they must pay the termination benefits if the employees are entitled by law. Based on the case on 3rd January 2022 between Jaya Prakash, anak lelaki Ramadas and Anytime Sdn Bhd upheld the dismissal of the redundant retail employee. The case were brought to the industrial court because of the issue of dismissal of COVID-19 pandemic due to excess workers, and the company was no longer able to bear the cost of operations. The court findings that the employer was retrenched its employee by stages, and the employee dismissal was with cause and excuse and without any bad intention. This case is under Section 20, Subsection 1, Industrial Relation Act 1967, and employee can only be dismissed with just cause or excuse.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Samawati binti Buyati, student ID 2020107485. So today I will continue about the presentation regarding industrial relation issue, that is termination during pandemic. So I will explain about a few cases that related with this issue and the act that could be referred to this case. Okay, case number 2 is Joseph Lim Chien Shu versus Detailed Sdn Bhd, where background of this case is claimant started working as a general manager at Detailed but has unfair terminate because of a few reasons, downsizing and need to merge the claimant department, and company claim that the position of claimant was redundant. And the company claimed claimant was argumentative, uncooperative, and ill-tempered, which made other staff uncomfortable, dishonest in not making full and frank disclosure past employment experience. This case shows that the employer has dismissed the claimant without a genuine reason, and the award was given to the claimant or employee, and the company need to pay Rm 183,416 ringgit and 25 cents for the comprising back wages and compensation of due of reinstatement. Based on Employment Act Section 14 in bracket 1 and in bracket C, an employer may, on the ground of misconduct inconsistent with the fulfillment of the express of implying condition of his service after due inquiry, the company actually first must do the inquiry, which included step below: issue written charge sheet lays off the nature of misconduct, including problem committed, date, time and place. Make sure the rule of fair hearing, where the employee should be hearing and defense or being represented by union. Number 4, time replying for accusation to the employee in 48 hours and give them 7 days to prepare himself. And the employer must assign unbiased party to conduct the inquiry and included all the requirements needed for the inquiry. And if he guilty, the employer shall decide the suitable penalties. That the inquiry must be done by the employer before the employer terminate this claimant. Case number 3 is between Chong Wai Kit versus Tropicana Share Services Sdn Bhd. The claimant was designated to his post as General Manager on 13 January 2020, which part of his job is sales and marketing, and he was dismissed on 19 April 2020. The court has awarded this case to claimant because court finding that after the termination, the company has appointed 3 new directors and the company is still gain their return and profit, and the dismissal is hastily because the notice has been enforced for not even in 1 month of MCO. Based on Employment Act Section 12 in bracket 1 and in bracket 2, the termination notice need to comply the length of period given. In this case, is 4 weeks and the claimant was terminated less than a month. The employer can include in his contract of service that he should comply the requirement that stated in EA Section 12 in bracket 3 in bracket B, where the employee should accept the transfer, and if the employee refuse, the employer can terminate their contract. Need to include in the contract of service. For a case 4, it's between Kesatuan Kebangsaan Pekerja-Pekerja Hotel, Bar dan Restoran Semenanjung Malaysia versus Ramada Plaza Melaka or MTB Realty Sdn Bhd. Okay, the background of this case is in this case, the hotel has gave a notice to employee on 28 April 2020 and they have been paid termination benefit. An employee who is in service less than 1 year shall be entitled to pro rata bonus basis of 1 month last drawn salary, but a company refused because the hotel was shut down. Industrial Court want hotel to pay the employees with pro rata basis because the employee is still willing to continue their service, but hotel has prevented it by shut down their operation. In my opinion, the condition to the employer to be allowed to terminate or lay off their employees are to comply with the following procedure. First, the reason to employer shut down their business is strong and genuine, not created by the employer. Employer need to take early action before doing termination process, such as ask the employee to work in a shift, and also they can freeze the selection and recruitment process. They can limit the overtime. They can limit working hours on weekend or a public holiday, or it could be in a weekdays. And they can reduce the wages and salary. And they can, the last one, they can imply layoff. And the last is a termination.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nusra Binti Ahmad Said, and let's look at the recommendation and conclusion slide. There are 3 recommendations we have obtained. First one is the economic stimulus package. The government has introduced the economic stimulus package on 27 February 2020 worth RM20 billion. This stimulus package aims to provide financial assistance to individual and businesses. Individuals who belong to the target group will receive subsistence allowance that the court as a PSH. Meanwhile, employers in the tourism sector affected by the pandemic were given tax break, utility discounts and rebate exemptions. Deferment of monthly tax installments, temporary discount for 6 months for 15% of monthly electricity bills, rebate exemptions from the Limited Human Resource Development Fund as well as tax exemption for hotels have been given to the tourism sector to facilitate their cash flow. Number 2 is People's Concern Economic Stimulus Package, called is Prihatin. On 27 2020, the government introduced the second phase of the economic stimulus package, the Prihatin, which is called as Prihatin, which has benefited some Malaysians. This Prihatin package implemented to provide assistance to the B40, M40 income group, students and vulnerable in the form of the National Prihatin Assistance Payment, called is as a BPN. In total, the government has allocated RM260 billion for Prihatin, which is 70% of GDP, which has given a moratorium on loans and withdrawals of retirement funds. Number 3 is the economic protection and Malaysian citizens, we call it as PERMAI. The government has strengthened intervention programs for the labour market under the economic stimulus package. The PERMAI package on 18 January 2021, under the PERMAI package, Bantuan Perhatian Rakyat, moratorium and restructuring of loan payments, the IC Now program, namely the withdrawal of EPF retirement funds, was continued and given and even improved. Workers who are laid off are also given flexibility to apply for assistance under the Employment Insurance Service, call it as SIP system and SIP Prihatin. Let's look at the last slide, which is conclusion. The COVID-19 pandemic that has hit the whole country has had a very bad impact on the business and the economy of the country, including Malaysia. It is clear that the labour market is amongst the most affected since the movement control order was implemented to address the spread of this COVID-19 epidemic. The closure of major economic sectors has also indirectly contributed to the increase in the number of retrenchment cases. Gross unemployment in Malaysia has also increased. New job creation and job opportunity did not increase but decreased due to the uncertain economic condition. To ensure that no party is harmed, the employer and the employee needs to know their respective responsibilities and rights as stipulated in the Labour Law Act. In addition to protect under existing laws, the government also provides some assistance and initiatives to employers and employees who are mostly affected by the spread of the epidemic. There are 3 economic stimulus and assistance packages have been implemented and introduced to help the people and help develop and revive the economies, the country's economy. The economic assistance provided by the government is expected to help revive the country's economy as well.